What's going on, ladies and germs? Welcome to the first episode of the Swag Pod. We're going to be playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. We're popping some magnesium glycinate. It is currently 11:19. You can't see that on my phone. 11:20. Have my phone on red screen mode. Yeah, tonight is one of those nights where we sit in, go to sleep, we stay up, stay in, sleep in. We're not sleeping, so it's not sleeping in. I guess we're waking in. Tonight is one of those nights where we are waking in a little longer than usual. I got my vitamin D as well. I didn't take my vitamin D today. Got my cod liver oil, my omega-3, and my magnesium glycinate. I'm going to drink my warm water. And I'm already feeling fixed, baby. Also, this game is kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. This is not good. This is not a good game to kind of like. This is distracting from my thoughts, actually. So we're gonna run this back. We're gonna play an entirely different game. Do I just play Death Stranding 2 and just walk around? I think that's better. I need to insert the disc. Okay. What am I trying to say? I should just like. Why am I still talking as if I'm like hedging something for like a video? I should just do real talk. This is SwagTower. Nobody freaking watches this channel anyway. I worked really hard on a prototype video. Not really hard. Like I didn't put like my blood, sweat, and tears into it. But I worked harder than I did for a Cyberpunk video that I did. And that video got, the prototype video got 3 views. That was crazy. Like literally 3 views. And probably 2 of those views were me. So in reality, it only got 1 view, which in reality means that it probably got 0 views. So I put all that work into that video and it just got me 0 views. And it had me thinking, and in combination with all these podcasts that I've been listening to, John Zerka, Togi, I know, like the greatest role models in the world, but it had me thinking about what am I doing with my life? I feel very depressed right now. Not depressed in like the clinical depression kind of way. I just feel sad and negative. Like I don't feel that great, and I'm not really sure why. I feel like I'm getting back into a pattern, and this seems to just be a pattern that I have with. Why is this game so loud? Holy moly. When I was in university, I felt like the only thing that I wanted was to not be doing physics problems or anything like that anymore, so I could actually have more time to pursue the things that I want to be pursuing, aka, you know, these funny little gaming videos, music creation as well. I like to make music, and yeah, basically just the creative path forward, just creation focused. And now that I'm actually out of university, I have the degree. No more homework problems or anything like that that has to like take up 90% of my free time because they're just so goddamn complicated and obtuse. Now I have that free time and I'm not really doing much of it at all, or most of my time is spent idling by watching YouTube videos, you know, John Zerka and Togi podcasts that they do. That's, you know, pseudo inspiring and actually is what's making me come to this realization. But that's what I'm doing in my spare time, and I feel like I could be doing so much more. And I wonder, you know, if the me that's in university could see the me now, would it be like something that I'm upset at, or would it be something where I don't know, I just realized that I'm not built for it. But I don't think it's something that I'm not built for in a way, meaning that I can never achieve it. I think I can achieve it. I just think I can't achieve it with my current mindset. And I think the thing that's keeping me from the success and the things that I want, that creative path in life, is one, the mindset that I'm in right now, which actually I guess that's a big umbrella thing, and then within that is like I have no visualization of that future me. I have no idea of what that me looks like. Like I really don't. And
Only gonna get harder.
Another thing is that I, even with something like this right now, I'm not in a positive frame of mind. I'm constantly in some sort of negative frame of mind where I'm telling myself, don't do this, don't do that, don't be lazy, don't, uh, spend your whole day watching YouTube videos, that kind of thing. I'm always telling myself, don't go on my phone first thing in the morning. But in saying those things, like, it's like if I tell you, like, don't think of an elephant. If I say that to you, that's all you're going to think about is an elephant. So I need to replace those don't do this statements with just the things that I want to do, where instead of saying don't go on my phone in the morning, I just say in the mornings I'm going to do this. Or instead of saying don't be lazy, I just say like, by 12 p.m. I'm going to get this done. And that's a mindset that I had to develop in university to force myself to work through and finish that physics degree that I really didn't want to do. And I feel like now I'm kind of losing it because I don't have anything that's really forcing me to, like, I don't have any pressure that's really being put on me in the traditional sense. I mean, there is pressure being put on me in that, and Sam does not stop talking. There is pressure being put on me in that, life still moves on, the clock keeps ticking, and I have to figure out something to do with my life soon, or I'll just be a loser. And there it is again. That like I think it's very telling that when my mind goes to autopilot, for example, like when I'm picking up the controller and my mind goes on autopilot, the things that are always in my mind are negative, negative, negative. And this past month, especially, I've just been in a negative frame of mind. And I'm trying to break out of it. And the way that I break out of it is not by saying, don't be negative, right? I have to say, it's time to be positive. I have to replace all of these sentences and these thoughts in my mind with the negative thing. I have to replace it with just being the positive version of it. So all of this is to say that I think the main thing that's keeping me from doing the things that I want to be doing is myself. I think that's the realization I'm coming to. It's not my circumstances. Like, technically speaking, like on paper, I have a lot of things that I could point to that could be like legitimate reasons as to why I'm not as successful or why I'm not where I want to be. And I'm sure to anyone else, they would see those circumstances and they would be like, oh, these are totally reasonable for why you're in your current situation. Like, don't sweat it, bro. But that's like, they're not me. If they could jump into my body, they would probably be like, holy hell, man, you have so many gifts, you have so many positive things, so many unique things that were given to you in life. This incarnation version of me, whatever, whatever energy, vibes, whatever things existed in the world to bring me to this point, it's so special and unique that to not capitalize on those talents is it's a waste. I think that's what people would see if they could jump into my body. They wouldn't be like, oh, they wouldn't look at the excuses that I could have for why I'm not doing things in my life and be like, yep, that's it. Instead, they would think more towards like just doing things, just taking action. And that's another thing that I'm really trying to improve, is just taking action in my life, just moving forward, doing, and not thinking and overthinking as much, because I don't know if you can tell throughout this whole rant, but I'm someone who overthinks a lot. I also need to break out of that whole, like, I don't know if you can tell negative thing, like, oh, I don't know if I like that Gen Z, like, ironic, self-deprecating shit. I need to get out of that. I need to get that out of my mind. It needs to just be a place of positivity. uh, one thing that is keeping me from being positive is like I'm when I finished university, I came to a new place. I'm in an entirely new environment and one that I want to be in long term. But right now, I'm living with my grandma, and like she is, I don't know if you've lived with your grandparents or whatever, but living with my grandma, it's a in a lot of ways it's a miserable experience. It's very positive because you know she does care about me and she does do things that I'm very grateful for. Like, she makes me food. I don't have to pay for food or rent while I'm here. That is something I'm super happy about and grateful for, and I understand the luxury that's given to me in that way. But with every positive comes a negative, and that negative is that the vibes in the house, the vibration, the energy, it's low vibrations. It is horrible in here. And I think that spirit that kind of covers the household is another thing that's bringing me down. And it's so hard to fight against it. I have to force myself to try to go outside for a walk every day. And I have to try to break out of these negative patterns. I guess that's a whole consistent theme here, is breaking out of negative patterns. But I have to put so much effort into doing that it feels like I don't have much effort left to give towards the things that I actually care about. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think I have a lot more energy than I would give myself credit for. And I think one thing that's taking a lot of that energy is this thing right here. This, phone device sucks. I hate it so much, but I'm in a long distance relationship, so I got to keep the phone on me in some ways. Yeah. Circumstances are not good in the SwagTower fam, but that doesn't matter. Illuminati? That doesn't matter. Okay? Circumstances, fuck circumstances, man. One thing that Togi was saying, though, I was actually thinking about, and this was... one thing Togi was saying in his... he recently had a podcast with Bradley Martin that I listened to. He was talking about how he did a whole bunch of drugs to kind of, like, fix his mindset, get into the right frame of mind, like, put himself in situations where he could grow. And then after he's done all that growing, now he's hopping off the drugs and then basically just doing, like, putting in action all of those systems that he developed from doing all the crazy stuff that he did when he was on drugs. I don't know how much that's actually going to be true. Only time will tell. But sometimes I think about that. Sometimes I'm like, damn, dude. Sometimes I feel very depressed. I feel anxious all the time. Very high anxiety. Like, recently, I don't know what it is. There's like a disconnect between the things that I feel, like mentally, like how I think I'm doing versus how my body's responding. There's a huge disconnect there. And recently, these past couple, like this week or so, I've been getting like a lot more like, sweaty hands, hot body temperature, which is usually signs of me being like anxious or nervous in some way. When I was in university, I had that non-stop. Every lecture I would go to, I would have to, sometimes I would wear long sleeves so that, because when I was writing in my pen and paper, or when I was taking notes on an iPad, when I was writing my iPad too, the heat that was emanating from my hand and the sweat, it would, if I was writing on an iPad, it would mess up my ability to write with the Apple Pencil. So I would have to like wear a long sleeve so I can pull it up to my palm and then grip it with my pinky finger so that my sleeve was the only thing that was touching the screen. So I couldn't get any sweat or like any like heat condensation onto the iPad. And I thought that was a horrible time, and that was only caused by school, and a lot of it was caused by the stress of university and getting that goddamn degree, which has not given me a job. That's the negative. Look at that. Look. You see how I just went into the negative like that? Holy moly! I gotta snap out of that, man. Jesus Christ. And And instead of being, I gotta not be negative, I will be positive. We gotta do those positive affirmations kind of thing. And I just had the thought of that is like, the gayest stuff to do. No homophobia, just using the term gay in the cool way, the same way that you'd use the R word. Um, but yeah. Where was I going with that? Yeah, I feel myself getting more anxious and nervous now, and it's not a. Oh man, the controller vibrates with like the rain, the pitter patter. That's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I think it's a sign that I feel some sort of discomfort with where I am right now. I can't really trust. This is another reason why I'm like trying to act more and not think, is that I can't really trust how my mind, like what I think the state I'm in is. Like I can't really trust that because through experiences and past traumas in my life, I've had a lot of instances where I've had to disconnect from how I feel to just kind of be able to get through and do things because I've had a lot of situations where I would feel very upset, sad, or angry, but something still had to be done either way because if it didn't, then it would be serious, no bueno good times would come from that. So I just kind of had to slap myself into condition of like, all right, no matter how I feel, I got to do this. And I think eventually that has maladaptive. That behavior has become maladaptive, or it was maladaptive to begin with, and it's caused me to develop like a genuine disconnect between like my mind, like how I actually feel versus how I think that I feel. I'm trying to think of a word of like, not like crazy, like I haven't become crazy, but I become like, I guess delusional about like how I feel versus how I actually truly feel deep down inside. And I think the way that I connect with how I truly feel is just by listening to my body, and my body is responding with more of the anxious cues. So I think that's kind of pointing towards a dissatisfaction with where I am right now. Because I think the whole reason why I got really anxious in university during lectures and stuff was a dissatisfaction with where I thought that I should be in terms of like my performance and my understanding in the class. Because I went to a really like top school for physics, and it was extremely difficult, and I felt a imposter syndrome of some sorts, but I also felt like when I was in high school I excelled and I was the top of my class, but then going to that university I suddenly became like average, if not below average, probably definitely below average, and that was not a nice feeling. So I think I felt a large disconnect with myself kind of every day going to those lectures and working on the homework problems. So yeah, I think it's cropping up again because I feel a dissatisfaction with where I am now. And I think that feeling, that dissatisfaction is what's causing me to think about these things and come to these realizations. But I think the main way that I break myself out of this loop, these thought loops, is by, breaking the thought in general. To get out of a thought loop, you just stop the thought. And because if you're in thought loops all the time, to get out of it, you can change the thought, but if you find yourself continually getting into thought loops, then when you change that thought, it's eventually going to spiral into another thought loop. So to cut that cycle of endless thought loops over and over, it's better to just cut that process of thinking to begin with, not to a total extent, but cutting that process of thinking and then just moving into an action-oriented mindset so you can act all the time. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to try to do, is just act. So, yeah. Right now, I put barriers on myself that I feel like I can't act because I am living with my grandma and she speaks a different language and she speaks a language that I'm very poor in. Like I can't communicate beyond like like child level. Um, so it makes me feel like I can't really, since I can't communicate the things that I want to do, then I can't really do anything aside from, whatever's safe inside of this room. But that's not true. I just have to act more. I think that's ultimately it. I just have to act. I wrote down a couple of things on my wall, and I think I'm going to keep adding things that I like so I can just look at it sometimes. One of them was something that Zerka said, John Zerka. He said, like, man gains energy, wakefulness, consciousness from seeking that which makes him uncomfortable. And I think that's written underneath it. I have think outside patterns. That's a little bit of my own thing that I think would help me. And I think it's very applicable. I think it's very true, at least for my life, because I seek comfort a little too much, and I have a really big problem with putting myself into situations where I can fail. Yeah, which is weird, because now that I think about it, like, I don't really have a problem that much with, like, doing online content stuff, or, like, putting up my art, for example, like my music. I don't have a problem with putting that up online and then experiencing, like, quote-unquote failure in not having anyone like view it. But I think that's because when I put those things out, I have like an internal sense of this is good. So if it's not being seen, I don't really feel that I failed. I feel more like, oh, like people just aren't seeing it yet. Or not to say that it's perfect, like there's definitely room that those things can improve in, like the things that I put out. But I never get like worried about the failure sense of it, because I just feel like I love the process of it so much that I'm just gonna move on to the next thing. And I guess that's the viewpoint I should have with like everything in my life. I think I feel it especially with like content creation stuff, like video content stuff and music, because this is like pretty much all of this stuff is self-taught. I didn't like go to a class to learn like how to make content or video editing or anything like that. And I didn't go to a class for music making either. I kind of was able to find my own path through it, make up my own rules that I follow for myself. And I think that's probably why I don't really feel any type of way about like failure in those domains, because there's nothing that I can like there's no failure that can exist, because the whole premise of me doing those acts is just the act of itself. Like I'm not really trying to reach an end goal with any of it aside from just trying to do it forever for the rest of my life. With the online content stuff, I feel a little bit more like a failure in those regards, because I would like to bring some sort of income from it, obviously, because that opportunity exists. And not only do I like making the content, but I need money. And so if I could attach money to the thing that I like doing already, I feel like that's not the worst idea in the world, and that might be something that's kind of good. But with the creation stuff, I think the reason why I don't really feel failure in that sense is because the whole goal is just wanting to do it. So maybe I should just apply that thinking to everything else. But the problem is, if I try to apply that thinking, for example, for like editing videos, because right now my biggest roadblock right now with the content creation stuff is editing the videos. I feel so bored, which is probably just a dopamine fried, like my dopamine receptors are fried kind of thing, and I need to, start meditating more and get off my phone. But yeah, like it's hard for me to kind of force myself to be like, oh, I gotta enjoy the process of editing, that's what I have to do, because I don't feel that at all. But yeah, maybe I should start doing that. Let me turn down the brightness of my monitor, actually. Maybe I should start doing that with kind of everything, just like the process. I kind of got at that point with the gym as well, too. When I was in university, had a free gym, so I would just wake up every morning like 5:30 a.m. so I could go to the gym, leave for the gym at 6:45 for when the gym opened at 7. And I really liked the process of just gymming every day. So I didn't really feel that there is like a, of course I had goals, like I want to cut my weight to a certain extent, but I didn't really feel failure when I didn't reach those goals. That's probably it. Just, oh, goddamn. Come on, you're breaking immersion. uh, yeah, I think that's what I need to do, is just to start enjoying the process of things more. Yeah, because I guess that's another lesson to learn is if you're trying to look for ways to improve, if you're trying to look for a solution to something, just look for an area of your life where you feel like there are no real problems that are there. Because the odds are it's not that you don't experience problems there, it's that you've already found the solution to the problems that you do experience in that domain. So with the creative domain, it's not like I don't have problems in that area, but I've already come up with the solution, which is that I don't care about whatever end product. My whole pursuit of that is just the thing itself. Yeah. Yeah, even just talking about that, it got me more positive. I think, like in talking about that, I think I've shifted. You can probably tell from the beginning of this video to now. At the beginning of the video, I think that was like low vibration energy, but now it's much higher vibration. I'm on higher vibes, and I'm gonna stop when I laugh like that. It's because like in my mind I'm like, that's so stupid. Like what I'm saying is so stupid. But who cares? All right, I don't care about that. It one, it feels good, but two, it's also just true. It's true to some extent. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop caring about all of that. Oh, this sounds stupid or whatever. Fuck all that. I'm so self-aware. Like, oh, I can make fun of myself and laugh at myself because I'm self-aware. Fuck that, man. That is such a. It's just a virus, man. It's a mind virus. It's 12 a.m. right now. Holy moly. Yeah, I think slowly but surely I'm shifting to a more positive state. I guess the last thing that's on my mind before I hit the hay, go to bed, is I...
Just a little longer.
No, Sam. I gotta go. This current place that I'm at, this current place that I'm in, physically, I mean, like this room and stuff like that, it's very comfortable. This is like a comfortable place to be in. I just felt like a breeze of air. Yeah, it's a very comfortable place to be in, but I think a lot of the things that are pulling me back is that I can't just operate, or I could.
No more.
Okay, I feel like I can't operate the way that I want to operate just day to day for like life. Like I can't be in the routines that puts me into that higher vibrational mode. And to some extent that is self-imposed because I could just do the things that I want to do, but the problem with that is that I would then have to deal with so much friction from like, I live with my grandma. If I did the things that I just want to do, like all of, like totally, that would cause so much friction every single day, and I don't think it would get easier. Yeah, it wouldn't get easier. So it's not like I just gotta push through that for a couple weeks and it gets easier. It just would never get easier. So that's a really hard part. It's one of the reasons why I gotta move out and get my own space. But to move out and get my own space, I need money. Yeah. Right now, my biggest problem is just like not having money. But I don't think that negative mindset is gonna help at all. You know, I am bringing in more money with tutoring now. You know, I have 2 clients now, and it brings in relatively good amount of money. I'm just trying to, I guess right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to save up money as much as possible. Because if I can save up some money, then I have more of liberty and freedom to like move out and stuff like that. So, one thing that I do, last pro tip,
Such a good kid.
swag tip, certified, trademarked, is if you feel confused and lost in life, just try to break it down to very simple things. And so one of the things I like to do is like long-term, mid-term, and short-term goal. So my long-term goal is to try to like move out. So in the midterm, what I got to do is just stack up as much money as possible, so I can build up some sort of. Well, no, I guess my long-term goal is to just stack up money. Let's just change the the scaling factor to that. My long-term goal is to just stack up money, because with enough money, that just gives me mobility. So while I'm trying to stack up money, I guess I just have like X amount of months of time.
Step a little longer.
Dude, okay, shut up, dude. Just stop talking. Holy shit. I guess in this interim time, while I'm trying to stack up money, I'll just have to be in this situation. But that doesn't mean that I have to let, the situation and the circumstance bring me down. So I guess I just keep doing the tutoring to stack up some amount of money, maybe enough to pay for like a deposit on a place. Keep pushing forward with the creation side of things, keep trying to do content creation and music creation, and be positive about things. Just approaching each day genuinely grateful and thankful for the opportunity that I have, and doing more things that make me a little bit uncomfortable. Because I think the main thing with doing things that make you uncomfortable is that when you're in a situation that's not familiar, with something that puts you a little bit on edge, that's really what wakes you up and puts you in the present moment. I think being present, like that is something that I don't really have right now. Like even right now while I'm talking, I don't really feel present that much, which is really unfortunate. And I really want to bring back that sense of presentness, because I think that is when I'm operating at my best, at my highest, at my peak. That's when I'm fulfilling my peak potential. I think is when I'm present. So yeah, I think thankfulness probably is like the best bridge to being present, right? Because you can only be thankful, like I guess you can be thankful about things that had happened, but once it happens, you're not as grateful. Like, if I give you $1 million, you're going to be super thankful in that moment when you have that $1 million, but afterwards, like, that even as early as the day after, if I ask you about those $1 million and like how thankful you are, that thankfulness wanes. So the peak thankfulness happens in the present moment. And so I guess if you try to be that peak level of thankfulness each day, then that will just ground you to the present, because to experience that peak joy and positivity, that's only going to be found in the present. So yeah, I guess that's the final takeaway. That's the message to send home to all your kids, is present. Just being present. We say that in class every day. SwagTower, present. SwagTower here. Gotta wake up each morning like that. I guess one more thing to pad out the time, because it's not really a podcast unless it's like, you know, an hour long or whatever, even though I'm going to cut out most of the start of this, but I've been thinking about religion. I grew up Christian. Well, I grew up in a Christian, like, nation, school, household, that kind of thing. Semi-Christian household, not really. My dad was always, like, one of those Christians that was, like, we didn't really go to church, but he definitely believed in Christ and stuff like that. But I've been thinking about religion, and I've been wondering, should I get back into religion? In some ways, I feel like, you know, like 10, 20 years from now, I will be religious. At the very least, I'll be highly spiritual, I think. I think the thing that's really keeping me from being, like, highly spiritual or religious right now is I don't have the fruits of my labor yet, that kind of thing. I think once all of those fruits of my labor start rolling in, I think that's when I'm really going to feel like that this was like a predestined thing. That's when I'll really feel what my purpose is. That's what I'll really feel fulfillment in life, and that's what will bring me to this realization that, you know, I didn't really go on this path alone, or this path wasn't purely constructed by me. This path, in some sense, it existed before I even had the thought of wanting to be on that path, you know? Like, my life was going to go down here either way, and the fact that it was going to go down there either way, there's something, you know, there's something in that mixture. I think next time I'm just gonna play Skyrim, dude. I thought this would be a good game to just, like, stand around in and have it on in the background, but it's not. What is this on the floor? Is this crap? What is this? Or is this like balancing rocks? Oh, I think it's like balancing rocks. Thought it was crap. Yippee!
I don't like the look of your car. It'll be beyond repair soon.
Yeah, you can kill me. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I think that's pretty much it. That's most of what was weighing heavy on my mind tonight. I think that's good. It helped me sort through a lot of things I've been thinking of. Yeah, as much as I want to eliminate all thought in general from my life and just act, there's only so much I can do that because I spent, you know, the past 2 days just consuming a lot, like taking in a lot of content that really had like ideas in them. They weren't just like comedic fluff to like kind of, you know, make time. They weren't just like time wasters. It was more like something substantial. And I think that caused a lot of thoughts to ruminate in my head, and I just had to, like, you know, it was like a knotted tangle of cords, and I just kind of just spent this time just like untangling it a bit more. So yeah, that's pretty much it. SwagTower out. SwagCast EP1. That's it. It's done. 12:10 a.m. is what time it is. I don't know where I put my phone. I did throw it aside when I was having my moment. But yeah, that's it. See you later.